Good morning. My name is Adhy Riadhy Arafah, together with Ibu Koesrianti and Ibu Aktieva Tri Tjitrawati. We are from Faculty of Law, Universitas Airlangga. For this meeting, we would like to present our paper with the title ASEAN Open Sky and the Disease Spread in the Region. What next for the ASEAN Single Aviation Market? Our paper would like to start from the background with the general problem. With the first general problem is the COVID-19 pandemic has decreased the international mobility of aviation in the entire globe. The second, at the same time, all member states of ASEAN has signed agreement to eliminate restriction in aviation industry by implementing ASEAN Open Sky. The third, how member states of ASEAN making policy to contradictive situation. And the last, what main priority member states of ASEAN to recover ASEAN industry, to recover aviation industries. Before we talk about the problem that we solve, then we start from the what is ASEAN community after signing the charter in 2007. As we know that the ASEAN has community pillar such as ASEAN Political Security Community, ASEAN Economic Community, and ASEAN Social Cultural Community. In ASEAN Economic Community, the community will focus on free trade area for investment, labor, and services. On the other hand, ASEAN also has an ASEAN economy integration, established trans-ASEAN transportation network for train, seaport, and aviation. In the aviation sector, ASEAN introduced the concept of the ASEAN Open Sky. So what is ASEAN Open Sky? ASEAN Open Sky doesn't mean foreign aircraft can fly over the country without asking permission. But they still need a permission by making agreement. But the agreement in which aircraft can fly between two countries, they try to leave the restriction. So why? What kind of restriction may apply actually in the bilateral agreement? If you look at the bilateral agreement concept, in the Article 1 of the Chicago Convention, stated that the airspace characteristic is a complete and exclusive. Complete and exclusive means that the airspace is a close. No one foreign aircraft can enter or fly across without permission. And Article 6 of the Chicago Convention requires special permission for that aircraft. And the permission itself could be achieved by bilateral agreement. However, the agreement requires many restrictions in order to achieve balanced benefit between parties in frequent traffic, number of passengers, and also cargo. So this is contradictory for the ASEAN purposes for connectivity and for competition, fair market competition. If you look at the concept in the airspace, in the aviation law, in the freedom of the air, which is stated in the bilateral agreement, they introduced called as the concept as the freedom of the air. There is a 9th freedom of the air, which first and second freedom of the air, not related to the commercial. But for the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, until 9th freedom, they have a consequences in the commercial activity. So what is ASEAN Open Sky? ASEAN Open Skies try to find a solution how getting free market, on the other hand, still protect the interests of the ASEAN member states. And ASEAN Open Skies means that the only no restriction to the 3rd and until 5th freedom of the air. Means that the aircraft which apply 3rd, 4th, and 5th freedom of the air, there is no restriction for the number of traffic, number of passenger, and also number tonnage for cargo. There are 3 legal bases to implement the ASEAN Open Skies: multilateral agreement on air services, ASEAN multilateral agreement on the full liberalization of the passenger air services, and multilateral agreement for full liberalization of air freight services. Now, if you look at that situation, when ASEAN tried to eliminate the restriction, eliminate the concept of balancing by giving everything to the market, fair competition. So what happened if pandemic COVID-19 applied now? If you look at the concept of international aviation law principle on the transmission of disease, Article 14 of the Chicago Convention stated that each contracting state agrees to take effective measures to prevent the spread by means of air navigation of cholera, typhus, smallpox, yellow fever, plague, and such other communicable disease as a contracting state shall from time to time decide to design, and to that end contracting state will keep in close consultation with the agency concerned with international regulation. So means that here, if you look at the concept of the Article 14 of the Chicago Convention, the convention asks to the state's responsibility to eliminate, to stop the spread of the illness, to spread kind of a virus. So this is a state responsibility. ASEAN countries, like Indonesia, for example, in this case, has a policy in eliminating spread of the virus by closing its border. So Indonesia, for instance, used a temporary suspension of visa-free visit, visa, and granting of 4 states resident permit for some people, regulates cargo aircraft service from some countries, banning on entry and transit to Indonesia for foreigners who have visited certain region, obligation to carry health certificate for passenger, and requirement to fill out a health alert card. However, some policy also have a contradictive to the national policy to ASEAN Open Skies, such as reduction of airport time slot based on evaluation, passenger restriction of maximum 50% of aircraft capacity with physical distancing application, and adjustment of upper limit tariff based on the provision of the legislation. Then, if you look at what happened now to the aviation industry, you will see how significant decrease to the aviation industry. And this is a very challenging for ASEAN to improve this industry. And in our conclusion here, pandemic COVID-19 will return basic principle in aviation law as stated in the Article 1 of the Chicago Convention that airspace is a complete and exclusive. ASEAN Open Sky, which has agreed by all ASEAN members that will be postponed at the level of implementation. Aviation industry recovery will more focus on domestic flight, and national policy of ASEAN member countries have to return the confidence of people to travel. Thank you. If there are any questions, please.